Welcome back. Well, when our next guest was a young kid, his parents divorced and he didn't get a lot of dad hugs.
Today, Terrence Talley is a high school assembly speaker on mental health, and he gives out dad hugs to anybody who wants them. We're super pleased to welcome Terrence to the Morning Blend. His new book is called Secrets Anonymous, Our Story and the Main Message: You are loved, you are not alone. We're super excited to share it with you now. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I think it's great that you're reaching out to what I think is a very vulnerable population these days.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about it. When we go into schools, you don't realize like how much hurt and pain is there. And for some of the students sitting there, that's the first time they hear like, hey, I care about you. And so I love my job. And even though there is a lot of sadness that goes with it, like I just love just being able to be there and just to care about students.
What do you do at the school assemblies? Because that's usually where you're speaking.
Right, at school assemblies. So basically what happens, the whole message is everybody is cared about, everybody is loved. And so one of the main things I talk about is the importance of a dad hug. Dad hug says, I love you, you don't have to do anything for me. Dad hug says, I think you're great, and you don't have to be the superstar athlete or you don't have to get straight A's. I just think you're great because you're you. And so after each and every assembly, I'll tell the students, hey, you can come down and you can get a dad hug from me because I give the best dad hugs ever. And honestly, no, I'm not even like exaggerating. I would say about 90% of the students in the school will come down to get a hug. Like, undoubtedly. Like,
does it stop at a certain age, or are they cool with it at all ages?
No, like
7th graders are tough to hug.
Yeah.
I guarantee it doesn't matter how old, even teachers break down and they're crying, and it's one of the most, just for me, I've done it now a lot of different times, and I cry each and every time because to be able to see that hurt, and for those students that just go, I just want to be hugged. And I want somebody to care about me as...
What was going on in your own life? So how old were you when your parents divorced?
Yeah, I was about 3 years old.
Okay, and so do you ever remember your dad hugging you?
There were very few times. My dad was out of my life a lot, and so I didn't get to see him a lot of those times, and I don't want to like say like he never touched me, but at the same time, my dad wasn't there
really wasn't present for the most part.
Right.
How did that divorce and his lack of a presence in your life affect you, do you think?
I think for me, it was one of those things where I felt like that was normal. And I felt like when I was put off to the side, like, yeah, I deserve that. I'm no one special. And I felt like I was the kid that was always sitting there by himself. And I didn't mind like teachers overlooking me because it's like, I get that at home, so why? That's how life is. But being older, I started to see like that is not normal, and families shouldn't be broken like that. And each and every student, no matter what your family situation is, each student deserves to be loved. And so,
what I think is heartbreaking to hear is that so many students have never heard that. They've never heard that they matter, and you had a college student that wasn't supposed to be at an assembly that came.
Yeah.
And that was a very important day for you.
Yeah, it was crazy just because we're doing assemblies, and most of the time it's for like high schoolers and middle schoolers. And I just did one talking about, you know, you matter. And I get a Facebook message from this girl, and she was like, I'm a college student and my parents begged me to come and hear you speak. And so my sister was there and they said, you have to do it. She was like, I had things planned, but I said, I'll do them later. She was like, I came and I cried the whole time. And she said, the thing that I had planned was I was gonna take my life that night. And she goes, I never knew that somebody cared for me. And so it's like stories like that. Or one of the first times I did it at a school assembly, it was this like huge school. And I was just looking there and I just say, hey, if anybody's here right now, you need that dad hug, you need that mom hug, you need that friend hug, I want you to come on down, get a hug from me. All these students started to line up. And the first person I went to go give a hug to was this girl. And I put my arms out like this. She put her hand out and she goes, stop. Before you give me a hug, you have to know that my dad started to molest me when I was 3 years old. And he didn't stop until I was 13. And the only reason why he stopped was because he got caught and he's in prison now. And she goes, that's the only kind of love I've known in my life. So from that day, I started to sell myself on the street. She goes, if you hug me, you will be the first man to ever touch me and not want anything sexually from me. So I just took that girl and I gave her the biggest hug. There's like hundreds of students lined up, but she like held on to me for like a whole minute while I'm there. And it was in that moment where I'm like, somebody needs to hear these stories. Somebody needs to know like that you are not alone. And for that girl and for that college student, it was like, if you were to know that you can read somebody else's story and say, you know what, that's kind of like mine, then that's going to give you hope. And if there's hope, then you can make it.
Well, you have to.
You got me. I'm like tearing up. I'm sure people are at home.
Yeah, it's precious. I feel like your message is so simple. It's not revolutionary, and I'm sure you know that. It's very basic. And you know, you talk about someone who contemplated taking their own life. I have a brother who died by suicide, and you do also.
Yes.
Right? Do you really feel like a hug from somebody that you've met in an assembly or reading a book, or, and I'm not diminishing it at all, but does it have that kind of power? What needs to happen next in order to save someone's life or change the course of their life?
Right. So, and that's the whole purpose behind the book. Because as we're going to all these different schools, it was almost like I feel like I'm opening up some of these wounds, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm crying. What do I do next?
Now you leave.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, see you later. Peace.
Yeah.
And
Good luck with that.
I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I think the schools and the counselors at the school, they are doing a fabulous job. And that's part of the message. It's like, I'm not going to be here, but the people at your schools, this is their job and they care for you. But also at the same time, I wanted to leave them with a book of hope that says you are not alone. And in the book, not only can you read student stories, but near the end of each chapter, you can learn about, hey, if you're dealing with, let's say it's being bullied, you can learn about how do I deal with that. Or if you have depression or you're struggling with suicide, you can go to the back of that chapter and read, hey, this is how I can get help. Yes.
I think that's very important, and I think that's very responsible of you, because you're right, you're bringing up past hurts, but you're not just being like, yeah, peace out, like, good luck with that. So I give you a lot of credit. It's really nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much for letting me be here.
And tomorrow people can meet you on your book release.
Yes, yes.
Tomorrow, which is the 10th, it's at 6:30 p.m. And so you can join in at the Waukesha West High School. You can learn more about the book Secrets Anonymous, Our Story, by visiting terrencetalley.com. You'll be there?
I will definitely be there.
Giving out hugs?
I'm going to be giving out as many hugs as I can.
Hug.
Yes, let's do it. I'm all about the group hugs. Yes, yes, absolutely.
And he smells good too. I think you said
I took
you
a shower.
showered
I
right
did.
before you
I did
got
shower
here.
before. I was nervous.
If you're going to be hugging people, you got to do that, which is great. So nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you again for having me.
We appreciate it.